Peace world, peace world. How you doing? It's your brother Mikey Fever. Welcome to another episode of NYP Talk Show, the most coolest platform within the conscious niche. The conscious community niche. Pardon me. Damn, what the hell's wrong with me today, man? Damn storm out here. Yo, it's the damn storm out here. Forgive me. But yo, I like to say peace to the gods, peace to the earth, peace to the nation of Islam. Salam alaikum to the Orthodox Islam. Aibobo to the voodoo practices. Ashe to my Ifa Santeria people, to my Palo people, and I believe they say Salam alaikum wa alaikum salah. So peace to them as well. Hope I got that correct. And just peace to the world, man. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. We got super chats. We have merch. We have a great show coming up next for you guys that we did live. That's dropping soon. What else? What else we got in the works? Check out the website and all that good stuff. Without further ado, we have the good brother Q, who was with us last month. I say, pardon me, Q, but you know, the Man of Madim. So I apologize about that, bro.
No problem.
Who will be talking about the secrets of the Solomonic Magick reveal. Damn, what is wrong with me today? Damn, can you sure you ain't working no spell on me, bro? Oh man, what is wrong with me today, man? So peace, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Nah, all is well, man. It's been a while, man. What you been up to, man?
Same old rigmarole. Work. Yeah, that's pretty much work. A few things in practice here and there, but yeah.
Oh, my bad, man. What you said? Repeat that.
Trying to chill lately.
Putting a few people in jars, man. Teach people a lesson. Like you mess with me, him, Saladim. That's it.
No, never.
No, I mess with you, brother. So last time we had you on here, we talked about ceremonial magic, and we spoke a little bit about grimoires. We touched on a lot of things briefly, but we're gonna go more into a few things today, right? We got a few questions prepped, but I'm gonna ask you this because offline we were talking about people learning about certain acts of ceremonial magic and rituals that take place, and I touched on the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. Can you elaborate on that for the guests? What is that?
So I'm pretty sure that it might differ from temple to temple if we're talking about Golden Dawn temples.
Yeah.
But I think most Golden Dawn practitioners have general consensus on what it does.
Mm-hmm.
So the Golden Dawn came around in the Victorian age. So 1888 was the official date, give or take. And during this time, there's a lot of Eastern practices that were coming to surface. A lot of psychology was coming to surface. So magic started to take on a lot of these traits.
Yeah.
And so before the Golden Dawn, there wasn't a lot of energy talk. Well, when Golden Dawn came along, there was a lot of psychological and energetic aspects that were injected into magic.
Yeah.
Or at least to help explain. So the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, it simply put is supposed to banish energies or forces, whatever it may be, within that area.
Okay.
But to go a little deeper into what I was taught, it more so has to do with your auric field, or we used to call it the field of sensation.
Yeah.
So it banishes all of those icky things that you accumulate throughout the day, throughout the week, and it goes from your field of sensation or your auric field. Can go beyond that to a certain extent. So then they have greater rituals of the pentagram and so forth within my grades, I didn't make it past practicus. Okay. So therefore I never learned like the supreme ritual, the pentagram and the greater ritual, and all those are more inner order things.
Yeah.
But when it came to the lesser pentagram, or like the LIRP or the LBR, we used to call it the LIRP.
Yeah,
The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, or the lesser invocation ritual of the pentagram. So one you're invoking, you're calling down, and then the other banishing is, and you're banishing away. So you were supposed to pretty much do these every day to kind of cleanse your field of sensation throughout the grade. So you know, you're kind of prepping yourself for those initiations. But yeah, in general, it's a banishing ritual.
Got you. Because I've seen it done, and I have done it myself before, right? Like you said, there's the greater. I don't know if the greater is the one where you go in all four directions. Because I know I don't know if it's safe to give people a demonstration on how it does. I don't know if it's okay or not, but you go through the process of writing it all like above it on your figure, and you can go to every direction to say a particular name of an archangel, and that's something I know people use, as you said, to cleanse the auric energy field. It's best to do it before going to bed too.
Yeah, do it before it depends on. There's so many things that change throughout tradition, and I'm sure there's going to be some people who are golden dawners who would listen to what I'm saying and be like, that's not how we do it. That's not how they traditionally did it. Yeah. But the lesser ritual of the pentagram wasn't exactly an everyday thing that got made popular as time went on. But yeah, before you go to bed, it's great. And the invocation ritual of the pentagram is great at the beginning of the day. But yeah, as you're saying, the four archangels, it's kind of based on an old nighttime Jewish prayer of, Michael to my right side, or
Uriel to my left.
Yeah, exactly. You have to play on that, but yeah, and then there's other things like the sign of the enter and the sign of Hippocrates, where you shush, and all of these that are put into it. And then you of course have the sword or the double wand of power. There's all different little things, but you have your divine names, Eheye, Agla, Adonai. Yeah.
It's too much. It's
all very
I'm messing around with people. It's all published people. We just messing with you. I like to add excitement. Like, you got your Agla, which is just a 4 letter acronym for the names of the archangels. But you could say is, Adonai, Gabor, Leolam, Adonai, right? No, it's
Adonai, Gabor. God is mighty forever.
Yeah, God mighty forever. So yeah. That's good. All right, so I'm glad we got that out the way. What distinguishes Solomonic magic from folk magic or sorcery?
Nothing really distinguishes it too much. Like, if you look into Solomonic magic, if you were to read through the grimoires of the Solomonic corpus, meaning like the grimoires that you would consider to be Solomonic, a lot of the spell work in those, a lot of the workings isn't very far from what you would see in folk practices of Europe. You had a lot of cunning people in their small villages that would practice cunning folk magic, and they would implement Solomonic technology. So it's not very far from it. I guess to a certain extent, if we're talking about context of time, there was a time where not everyone could write or read or have the money to be able to afford, just writing writing utensils or swords and cloaks, and it was very much a priestly underground thing. So I guess that's where it got separated from the folk aspect. So rather being something that was implemented in a folk practice, it was at the other end, people who could afford to read and write and that did that for a job, that would be more on the learned magic side.
Gotcha.
You know, so I guess that's really what kind of separated learned magic from folk magic, was people who were elite, quote unquote, and then people who were living out in the countryside.
Got you. Yeah, I noticed that in quite a few books they mentioned that, like, you know, people were part of particular fraternities, or if not, like you say, the folk magic was done like on the countryside outside where they did it amongst themselves. Which you know, there's always that distinguishing class of things that take place, you know, amongst human nature. Like if you're not part of this, they are not, because you know, they believe like the the fraternal orders had like a process, a protocol that they followed, and that the folk people didn't have that, you know. But to each their own, man. I think both work. We have somebody here that's saying John D would be one. Do you think so?
On the learned magic, John D would be on, because he for sure had like one of the biggest occult libraries in his time, and I think he was a court astrologer for Queen Elizabeth. I don't know which one. You don't quote me on that one, or Victoria or something along that. But yeah, he was a court astrologer for one of those queens. I actually don't know too much about Enochian magic. I just purchased some books on it because it's a whole nother world. But yeah, he for sure would have been on the learned side because he had the resources. Yeah, and usually folk magic had a lot to do with like making sure your crops grew and making sure your cattle were healthy, you know?
Yeah, that was a lot of the work of that was a lot of the work of, who was it again? What's that guy? Albertus Magnus was doing that stuff like that in his book.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about like stuff for your crops, what to do for your crops if your cow gets sick, and because I got the book and some of the rituals, you look at him like, I'm not gonna find a majority of these ingredients for me to look for. Look for a bat wing, look for this and that, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
All right, got you. From where does magician's authority come in Solomonic practice? Like, who's the authoritative figure?
So Solomonic magic at its core is really Christian magic.
Yeah.
So the authority comes from the Christian God. Yeah, it's, you know, angels, angelic names, divine names, the Christian God, Yod-He, Vav-He, Jehovah. That is where the authority comes from. So that's why when you see circles, you will see divine names written in Hebrew or passing the river fonts or some different type of iteration of Hebrew. Or you'll see just even Greek or Latin names that have been Hebrew names transliterated. So you'll see all those names on swords, on wands, on the circle. That's where all the authority comes from. And not only just that, but also having faith in that authority and not just saying prayers just to say it, but also believing that there is power within the scriptures that you are reading.
I noticed that. I do, because you know, some of the swords, you know, I may come across will have like the 6-pointed star on there, and you know, before people assume that's, you know, that deals with a particular nation, that's most likely like you get, again, Solomonic. It also has a meaning behind it, you know. The seal, like, you know, as above, so below. I keep repeating, but that's a common thing in these magical systems, and it's true. A lot of them do start off with using the Psalms, certain passages within the Bible, and that's pretty much it. Like Old Testament stuff. Yeah, I noticed that. So
yeah, Psalm magic is huge. I use Psalms and scriptures are a big part of my practice when I'm formulating ritual or spell work. There is for sure biblical scripture that I implement pretty much every corner of it, you know.
Definitely. No, it's a must, man. And people don't know that Bible, man, is a spell book itself. I don't want any Christians to become angry with me and say you're saying something that's blasphemous. No, I'm not being blasphemous. In reality, it is. That book is a book of power. The book of as the elder C.L. Freeman said, the book of Psalms is basically scrambled letters of the word lamps. Because you see candle magic, we keep using the Psalms. We got to refer to the Psalm. Read this song for particular issue, read that song for particular issue, and then, certain keys are within that psalm that can make things manifest for you as well. That's another topic. Certain words, yeah. Why must spirits be constrained in the name of God?
So to constrain, to bind, those are all very harsh words today.
Oh man.
So if we're looking in context of back then, it's kind of like a conceived notion that a lot of these people that were writing these grimoires and manuscripts, they like to use a lot of legalistic language.
Yeah.
So when they use the word bind, it is more so means like bound by a contract.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
And to constrain is actually means within the technology of Solomonic Magick is to constrain a spirit to the triangle, constrain the spirit to some type of scrying apparatus like the crystal.
Yes.
Or the black mirror. It really means to keep, it's a focal point for that spirit. So it's a way, so if you were to see like with the Ars Goetia, they have the triangle and then they have the divine names around it. And then they have Michael within it as well.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to act to constrain the spirit, as in keeping the spirit at a focal point rather than running amok around the circle or your house.
Exactly.
So if you look at the Heptameron, which is one of the older grimoires, you don't have a crystal, you don't have a triangle. It's just a retinue of spirits coming to the outside of your circle. And me and my scrying partner, we've done operations with the Heptameron formula, and that's exactly what you get. You get a retinue of spirits that are around the circle. And while using a crystal and constraining them to the crystal, they usually stay within that focal point.
Got you.
So that is what constraining means. Now, when we use the names of God and divine names and angelic names, that's just pretty much saying you are going to this focal point in the name of God, in the name of a higher authority. Whether the name was Odin or Zeus, it's just some type of higher divine power that holds agency over cosmic law. And they abide by that. No matter what, everything abides by that. The elements abide by laws. We abide by laws.
Yes.
And so do the worst demons.
Got you. And I'm glad that you have mentioned that about, the circle basically is a perimeter. Like you said, a focal point that keeps the energy constrained or binding. That's the language that they use because they got to speak with authority to keep these spirits in checks. Make sure they don't run, like you said, run amok. And it's also a protection barrier. Yeah. There are times, whenever you're doing work for the positive, the negative does show up as well.
Yeah, you got your onlookers. You got your curious things. Like we'll do operations, and every now and then, my scryer will see something pop up in the corner. Like, what's that? That's something that's a little weird. It's staying at the edge of the circle, but it is something that's kind of out of the ordinary. So you do have passerbys for sure.
Got you. Just go off tangent real quick, veer off a little bit. Whenever you're performing an operation, right? You ever find it like sometimes the work, what you plan on doing, somehow take a turn on its own, like out of nowhere, like, yo, what's going on? Like, my intentions were to do this, A, B, and C. Now I'm doing E, F. Something like came about on its own. Like you see the work shift on its own, like upon the operation, it just shift on its own.
So I mean, with spirits, you never exactly know. That's what kind of tells you that they are independent agents.
Yeah.
Because you can have your goal or a direction, and they might take it in a totally different direction that you weren't planning on. Like the last invocation or conjuration we had done with Raphael, we were looking to just kind of make some type of contact, but it turned out to be something more of like, next time you come to me, I want you to not only be like in the proper protocol, but also have these rings for me. I want you to have certain rings, and my scryer, who's also my partner and wife, she had a vision of these rings, and she actually made them. So that is a sort of I don't know if that answers your question, but it kind of went in a direction that we really weren't expecting, and that's part of conjuring spirits. You kind of got to stay on your toes, rely on those foundations of magic to know, like, okay, I see where this is going. And we had enough training to where what questions to ask next or how to go about it in the future.
It ties back to what you said too, using the scripture to protect yourself as your foundation. Because as you say, these genius, I call them divine energies, somehow, like you say, take their mind of their own. Like they do what they want to do. Like we think we're controlling them, but they do what they want. So we got to stand on scripture. There are times you got to run back to particular prayer and the scripture to say, we're going back to cases. You're not going to do this with me. Like me personally, I say Psalm 23. I'm like, hey, yeah, we're going back here. Like, you're gonna follow.
Yeah. Psalm 23 is a very powerful one. A lot of Psalms. I like the Hail Marys. Hail Marys have a very powerful effect. Our fathers.
Say it in Latin.
But yeah, those sure are very strong ones. Psalm 23 is a go-to as well.
Do you say it in Latin?
No. I don't say. I'll tell you, like the first Solomonic rites that I did when I was kind of shifting from Golden Dawn to Solomonic Magick, I did try using Latin, and that's when I did. There was some stuff that happened for sure.
Bro, it's real. It gets wild.
Yeah, but Latin will, like, use Greek, Latin, Hebrew. It'll bring some stuff out, but I like to know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Totally,
have a, my wits about my words. So I don't really have a problem using English, but if you're using Latin, it for sure gets a little funky.
Got you. All right, we're gonna get into the process of preparation and discipline before we begin an operation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us the process of purification, whether it's through spiritual cleansing of a bath or fasting. Why is that always emphasized before any operation?
It's funny because you can look through a lot of different cultures that magic is throughout many different cultures from east to west, and there's always something of purification in fasting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it, from what I've read, it harkens back to things that you eat will come through in your pores.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that there are certain Buddhist diets where they won't eat like quote unquote hot ingredients because they're hot spiritually, like garlic, or certain alliums, onion.
Yeah.
And also it will come through your skin, it'll come through your pores. And so there's this, theory that spirits can't see well, but they can smell very well. So you don't want to be stinking like garlic and onion.
Odorific,
so that comes down to the fasting, and also there's other things like when you are hungry and you've kind of malnourished yourself to a certain extent, it's easier to go into a trance.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
But that's we're disregarding people who might have like blood sugar problems and they can't not eat. And so what, they can't practice magic now because they can't fast like that. You know, so for me, when it comes to fasting, it's very much a practical thing of, you don't want the bubble guts where you're in a 4-hour conjuration.
That's a fact.
You know, it's very much. I was talking about the conjuration for Raphael that I did not long ago, and we did this off the cuff. I had just eaten that day, and I remember, she was scrying and having going through visions. I had a little bit of a burp in the mouth. And when I burped a little bit, like, she caught on to that, and Raphael caught on to that, was like, nah, none of that.
Yeah, throw things off. Like, it just, like, yeah.
That is like, and I tried to hide it, but it was like, no, you need to come prepared. So I think it does have a lot to do with cleanliness, being clean within, without, not being like full of meat and these hot ingredients that are going to make you sweat and smell. And that goes along with the spiritual cleansing of bathing. You know, you say your psalms, you say, you know, purge me with hyssop and I shall be clean, wash me and I shall be whiter. No. You know, I actually have a hyssop, frankincense, and myrrh soap that I buy that I like to use.
Get out of here. You're copying me, man. I got that too.
You know, all of this has to go with cleanliness, of course, but then there's the spiritual side of it, is like you're getting in the mind state. You know, you're preparing yourself. Usually it's a 7-day preparation for these in the grimoires. I don't always go by that because I'm pretty practical and off the cuff, but you know, it's really about getting yourself in the mindset. You're going through that bath, you're putting on your vestments, you're making yourself smell nice. It's all, you're going on a date, you're going on a business interview, you know, you're preparing yourself.
Let's also add something. You have to abstain from sexual relations. That part, you know, there's sometimes you be like, damn, I gotta do this tomorrow. Like, all right, you know, it's gonna be you know what? It's what's 4 more days, man? Come on, it's almost done. Like, you know, like I gotta.
Yeah, I know some traditions are very like strict about that. You know, because I don't know exactly if it's like Lukumi, where there's like a whole year of having to wear white after initiation. I don't know if that's the correct tradition, but I know there's some protocols that are very strict about it. As for abstinence, you know, even in the ritual of the Abramelin, like it says like, oh, you have to remain abstinent, but hey, if it's with your wife, then okay.
Yeah, I heard that too. You like, you know what I'm saying? Wife be looking at you, like, come on, like, I gotta focus on this tomorrow. Like, can you wait?
I will say that it's best to wait a little bit after the act, so you're not going into it spiritually hot. You know, cool down a little bit. You know, kind of. Yeah, just let some time pass before you visit your altar. You don't want to go there after you're all sweating and all out of
place, right? You know, still got the DNA. You know what? Let me stop. DNA all over the body over here. About to touch the tools on your altar, looking crazy.
Yeah,
you better go hop in that shower and get some salt water, like, or that hyssop, and purify yourself and come in reverence. You better come in reverence.
Exactly.
That's dope. So that's sort of all that's part of the psychological, spiritual, physical aspect of cleanliness and aura. All that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, a lot of factors for sure.
What inner changes indicate that you have readiness to get involved in these spiritual practices? How can one be like, all right, I believe I'm ready. I have been doing the reading. I have been doing the discipline. So how do I know I'm ready?
You never really know you're ready until you start doing it. It's kind of one of those things where, like, the late great Jake Stratton Kent said, jump into that circle and get your fingers burned, because you're never going to be able to know if you're ready or how to go about it until you're there dancing with the devil. You know, like You know, and that's just that sounded a little bleak to say it like that.
Yeah,
but
it does, man. They got to think with some Illuminati people or something like that.
but it's, you know, it's just a way of saying it's like you never know until you're actually thinking on your toes and doing it, and that's when you start to learn the ins and the outs. That's when you start to learn the ritual flow. Because at first, when you're trying to perform these rites, it's going to be a little clunky. You're going to think, oh, I should have done this before that. You're going to add all these things that later on you're going to extract out of it and kind of make it more simple. It's just getting into the circle and going at it. Now, there are some fundamentals, I think, depending on what you're trying to practice. If you're trying to get into witchcraft, you're not going to need to learn Hebrew. Or say Hebrew alphabet. But if you're trying to read grimoires and kind of understand them, it's going to help to know a little bit of your Hebrew alphabet and also the divine names. So learning that in the Golden Dawn really helped me when it came to the grimoires and knowing like, oh, I understand all of these names in the circle of the Ars Goetia, starting with the Chayil HaKadosh and the Rashid HaGigalim and all these. I understand. I know what these mean now. I know these angelic choirs. So things like that are for sure helpful. They're great tools. Your correspondences, you know, what's the color of Mars? Iron or steel. What's the metal of Jupiter? Tin. What's the color of Jupiter? Blue. All of these things are a toolbox for you for when you do step into the circle. As for knowing if you are ready, you won't know until you actually start going at it and end up burning yourself a little bit.
I like how you just dropped that right there. The planetary attributes and corresponding colors.
Oh yeah.
And for those who know, today is Tuesday. It deals with Mars, right? It's Mars. Color is red. It's a day of passion. You know, I think they do work like. I think some people always assume that it's war that you deal with on these days, which is true. People do things for defense and protection and cleansing and forcing something. Is that if that's to say something passionate, so they get their red candle?
Yeah, no, passion for sure. Mars and Venus are very much on the same like level of that passion and being fiery. But like there's a lot of martial aspects and things that don't exactly have to do with Mars. So like love is considered Venusian, but very passionate, active love has a very martial quality to it because you're willing to fight for it, right? So you find these types of planetary qualities throughout things that you won't exactly attribute to that planet. But Mars, it is usually the connotations of war and battle and things like that. But if you're really trying to, put some fire into a spell and really make it activate it, martial energy is also great for that.
Sounds like a Leo. Sounds like Leos to be like that. That's dope, brother. So, what tools? What are external tools will aid you in your sense of consciousness? We're dealing with this. Like, what books can we go out there and seek?
What books?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm overlooking. What books can one go out there and purchase?
To
learn about the Solomonic Magick.
Well, of course, there's the grimoires, and there's different grimoires. Not every grimoire is Solomonic. Usually, a Solomonic grimoire will have the letter of Solomon to his son Roboam, and that is kind of the literary, sign of a Solomonic grimoire, because it could be Faustian, and you're going to have things that look Solomonic. It could be Enochian, it's going to have things that look Solomonic, but it's not, So going back to your question, what books? And obviously the grimoire. So like the Key of Solomon the King.
The greater or the lesser?
The greater is for sure. So the greater and the lesser key was kind of like the greater key was a term that was brought out by default by I think A.E. Waite, who called it the greater. as opposing the lesser or the little key of Solomon, which was the Lemegeton. Here's the key of Solomon the king, which you would consider the greater key. And it was translated by, Samuel McGregor Mathers, but Joseph H. Peterson's version is my favorite one because he took all the pentacles and really modified them and made them clear. And that is where you will find all of your protocols for consecration. Read through all those, you kind of really get a gist of how to consecrate something. You need your holy water, you need your
salt.
You need your words of power, so like your incantation, your biblical verses, whatever it may be.
Yep.
And once you learn how to consecrate, then you, at the very beginning of the book, you have your ritual structure. Now, ritual structure can vary between different grimoires, but if you're looking for a very generic ritual structure, look into the Heptameron. And the Heptameron is where you got where the Ars Goetia pretty much lifted its conjurations from. And the Ars Goetia is the very popular 72 demons of the Lemegeton, and the shirt that I have on right here.
What's that? Some crazy stuff you got on? What's that?
Oh, the Ars Goetia. It's just all of the 72 seals, all the demons.
Oh man.
But it's just kitschy novelty fun,
I know that.
But so the Heptameron, it really has that generic ritual structure that you follow, where you consecrate everything, you purify yourself, you wash yourself, then you do your invocations and your conjurations, your charge or petition to the spirits, and then your license to depart. There's all different types of things that you could add into that, but that is pretty much your general layout of a ritual. And you'll find that in the Heptameron. So the Key of Solomon the King will teach you how to consecrate. Heptameron will teach you how to conduct a ritual. Now,
all in the same book or separate books?
Separate books. The Heptameron, if you're looking to get the Heptameron, I suggest to get the Elucidation of Necromancy, or Elucidarium de Nigromanticae, I believe in Latin. I might be jumbling that up. But the Elucidation of Necromancy, and that has the Heptameron, and it has the other few manuscripts that are part of that same corpus. But that is where you can learn ritual. Key of Solomon the King, learn consecration and all of the things to prepare. Those are great tools to have in your box. They'll give you all of the basics and all the foundations. Now, when it comes to like all of the correspondences and things like that, I still recommend the green brick in the Golden Dawn tradition, which is the Initiation into the Golden Dawn system by Sheik and Tabitha Cicero. Chick Cicero. I forget.
Don't worry. I'm trying to get it in the chat for the people, man. If you can send it to me, I'll put it up there for them so they could go out there and look. I know they can, after this show, they can be like, we need those books.
But we call it the green brick because it's a big old book, and it has all of the initiations from neophyte all the way to philosophist, and has all of the knowledge lectures. And within these knowledge lectures is where you're going to find all of your correspondences, associations, all of your Kabbalistic with a Q teachings, basic astrology, basic geomancy, all of these very basic magical techniques that you will be able to implement later on down the path.
Got you. That's so dope, man. I love how you expressed that and explained it. Very articulate. Why is revenge discouraging in classical texts or Solomonic magic?
Discouraged. I don't know if it's really discouraged in Solomonic magic. There's actually a lot of different spirits that you can appeal to for like making wounds fester or breaking down cities and castles and things like that. You know, I know that it's a common conception within the occult community that revenge is kind of, you know, frowned upon. But I really like the way that a lot of diasporic traditions look at like revenge. It's not really revenge. It's more so like I will divine whether this is justified or not. You know, so if someone asks you, like, I need this done to this person, they did me wrong, there's going to be some type of divination done to see if, like, yes, it is approved, or no, this isn't within the cards for you. And I kind of like how that's gone about. So when it comes to revenge, there's really no, it's a very much a gray territory within Solomonic Magick. Me personally, like I said, it's kind of one of those things, like, I'm going to do some divination to see if it's worthwhile in the first place, or if it's something that I have to live with.
That's a fact. You know, I was on a live the other day on TikTok, and I was explaining it to somebody. They were asking, well, you know, I heard Masons or voodooists tend to attack people. I said, no, we're within our instructions on what we're taught. We're never supposed to be on the offense. It's defense. We'll defend ourselves. We'll cover ourselves. We'll protect ourselves, but never to go on the offense. Now, if you do something to me, and I'll catch wind based on whether I've done divination or I see it up front and personal, then I'll react.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? It's because we have to think 777 times before we make a move. Like, we gotta do the divination. We gotta, you know, I may have to fast on it. I may have to abstain for a few days. I gotta really think about it, like, you know, before I do something.
And also, if you have a good relationship with your court, with your spiritual court, sometimes, you know, revenge will be carried out on their own terms. You don't even have to do anything. Like, they will take care of you, and that's you know, part of the pluses of, you know, staying and engaging with your spiritual court, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's where the ego comes in play, and we're going to talk more about that, which is called the spiritual pride. Is the spiritual pride a danger for a magician?
Yeah, for sure. You know, ego always plays a part. You know, ego is important because that's what tells you who you are. That's what tells you, I need to jump out of the way of this car, or else I'm going to get hit and I will be unalived. You know, that's part of your ego right there. But at the same time, as in modern age, what we see of his ego is like, you're just being, you know, arrogant. And I can see that spiritual pride for sure. It is a danger. The best way to see that manifest is in these like fake gurus and teachers.
Talk about it.
You know, that think they know so much, and then when they do get students, at first it starts off rather innocent, but before you know it, they start to take advantage of these students in ways that are way more obscene than you would thought it would have led to in the first place.
Sexual deviance.
Exactly. You know, and spiritual pride usually has to play a part in that. Yeah, no, I mean, just like any other thing, having too much pride, it kind of blinds you from what's important. And spiritual pride is also what leads people to always have to say something about someone on social media. Like,
talk about it.
Where I would see demonolators and I'd be like, oh my God, what are you doing? La la la. But at this point in my practice, I'm kind of like, hey, if that's what makes you happy and you're not hurting anyone, bless your heart.
Exactly. That's the same way too. Because I'm like, I don't know, you on your own mission. You have to answer to your higher power. You know, not me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're gonna get into this comments, right? Got a few people asking the questions. Forgive me, people, for not reading the questions out. They're like, say, ask your guess about Aleister Crowley if you get a chance. They want to know about Aleister Crowley. What do you know about Mr. Aleister Crowley?
He's never left my life because I actually got him tattooed on my my leg when I was younger. Because I thought it was he was a cool guy. But as I learned more about the occult and kind of, delve deeper into my practice, he's not really someone that his teachings aren't something that are a part of my paradigm. He helped introduce yoga to the West for sure.
Yeah.
He had a lot of good things to contribute to the occult. So for instance, if you get into magic and you want to go get a magic book at Barnes and Noble's, one of the first things you're going to see is probably an Aleister Crowley book.
Exactly, the Book of Shadows.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the first things you come across. His 7-7 is going to be one of the first things you see, and people will tell you how those it's a book of correspondences, and people will tell you that are experienced, they're like, they're a little dubious, but he helped make it popular. Without Aleister Crowley, I probably wouldn't have got it. That would have been missing from my introduction into the occult. And, because of him, like I am where I am today to a certain extent. Without Aleister Crowley being part of the Golden Dawn, I probably wouldn't have been into the Golden Dawn. And he did so much for the occult popularity wise.
Yes,
but him himself and his thelema thing and the Iwas and all of that stuff, the book of the law, and all of that stuff is kind of like, it's sort of dogmatic. It has its religion, and that's aside from what I know and what I do. So I really don't pay too much attention to it. It's not really my cup of tea. I'm not against it. I'm not for it.
It was rebellious. He was rebellious.
Yeah, I'm very indifferent to it. So Crowley's not my favorite, but I don't hate the guy,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I picked up Crowley books. I must have been 19 or 20. And let me tell you, man, that book threw me for a loop. Reading, with the young impressionable mind, I'm just reading like, damn, he's saying do this and that. I remember I went on a 8-day fast, not caring about my appearance and all that. Bro, it's intense, man. Like the times you had to wake up and do some chanting and prayers, and
there's I forget book of I forget the name of it, but it's an actual technique that he would have certain. I know that nowadays they look at it differently and they go about it differently, but it has to do with training your mind. So it's something like every time you think about an elephant, you have to cut yourself with a razor,
bro.
And it's this thing of like training your mind to where you are able to think what you want to think. And it's just really kind of keeping your mind in a certain direction and keeping your focus in a certain direction. Nowadays, I believe like people will use like a rubber band and they'll like snap their wrist or something. If I curse, I snap my wrist, or like if I am going to make myself not do a certain twitch, and when I do it, I snap my wrist. So it's this whole thing of really training yourself.
Do as thou wilt. That's what it comes down to. And the whole dilemma process was like reading up about the dilemma, what he was doing in there with the drugs. I'm like, all right, that part right there, I'm not into. and like the old man, let me tell you, that dude, I think he went too far. Brilliant individual, but went too far. He lost it. Like he had a pretty bad addiction that kind of he had suffered from. So that didn't help. You had the Ozzy Osbourne that Mr. Crawley. Did you talk to the dead? Anyway, I got another question. Somebody here put this up. He said, Friday is Astarte. Hashem, this 28th is happening. You know anything about that? What this person's trying to convey? This message they're trying to.
No, I do not know. Hashem Baal. So Baal means Lord. Hashem. I think that Hashem. I think that means blessed be. Or no, I'm thinking of Ashura.
Astarte. Yeah, I say Astarte. I know that's the.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they're referring to. I know Astarte was the consort of Baal, which Baal turned into Baal. But Baal was pretty much, it was just meant Lord. So it was a name that could be given to a lot of different deities. But yeah, it is a Canaanite storm god named Baal, who was kind of the other end of Yahweh, who was also a storm god of the Phoenicians. And if I remember correctly, I'm not exactly a historian here, just a carouser. But yeah, no, Astarte was the consort of Baal, and then that's where you get Baal is that's where you get Beelzebub from. So Baal, Bull, you know, the Lord who's on high, and over time it got corrupted and made fun of, and puns were put into it, making it a Lord of the Flies, Baal to Bull. So that Baal is really just a term meaning Lord.
All right. I mean, one more thing before we continue on is peace. What is his thoughts on Franz Bardon? They want to ask you about what's your thoughts on Franz Bardon.
Oh, he is one of those modern magicians. He has some pretty cool things that I've learned of, like fluid condensers for scrying mirrors and things like that. But when it comes to his teachings, like the initiation into hermetics, like all of his big works, I've never really delved into, because he is kind of on the magic revivalist side. So when you're thinking of the history of magic, you got all the way up until the 18th century of where. So 17th century is when you still see the Ars Goetia and other grimoires being brought up, and then 18th century and the 1700s you have Eliphas Levi, and then you have Proust, and then you start to get into the Franz Bardon later on, and I believe later on. So the magical thought began to take a different form at that time. So it went from being very spirit based, as in like spirits have agency over magic, into this whole thing of like willpower and energy and psychology. Because of course in the 1800s, that's when, like, you know, Freudian and Jungian things and psychology and Eastern philosophy and energy became much more popular. So Franz Bardon is part of that school of magic that is kind of aside from the grimoire tradition. So he wasn't really someone that I got into. If I would have kept with the Golden Dawn, I probably would have read more of Franz Bardon, because believe me, his book was kind of on my list to get. But when you kind of devote yourself to a certain school or model of magic, you tend to stay within that lane to a certain extent. Short answer would be, I don't really have opinion on him because I didn't learn much from him or look into him.
Got you. And I respect that. And being that, I'm glad that you mentioned all the authors within the 1800 that came about as the magic began to evolve, and, you know, different perspective through time came about. We're going to speak about this one. And then this is going to tie back to Martinez de Pasquale a little bit. Can Solomonic magic lead to reintegration rather than domination?
Lead to reintegration rather than domination, as what?
Reintegration into one within the universe, one with God, one man within himself.
Oh yeah. So, depends on how you use it. So what you're talking about is like theurgy. You know, it's God working. It's kind of becoming back one with the Godhead, and that's usually done through magic. That's more of an esoteric mystical approach to the occult, while magic is very much a practical application of a certain type of technologies to achieve some type of physical change. I am going to do this spell so I get more money, so I get more job. As in theurgy, there is theurgy within spell work because you're invocating on higher forces.
Yeah.
So that's theurgical by nature. But when it comes to integrating yourself back with the divine power, that was much more of a modern magic, Golden Dawn, lodge magic type thing, you know? So can Solomonic Magic do that? It's not exactly, it can to a certain extent. It can. It's going to develop you as a person. Any type of spirit work will develop you as a person, whether it be bad or good. But it's not really the goal of Solomonic Magic. Solomonic Magic is really to summon spirits to get things done.
Got you. I got you. And you know what? I'm glad that you said that. You mentioned that, man. I got to get the books on there for the people to go out there and purchase which books they need to be, purchase. How should I say it? As the book says on the inside, you are on your own. This is a warning. Don't go out there doing anything crazy. Use your own discernment, your right judgment. And you said to pick up the book, the Greater King of Solomon. That's the books that they should pick up, right? The Greater Keys of Solomon.
So it goes by, if you look up Greater Key of Solomon, you're probably going to get something different. But the Key of Solomon, the King, and it's the Joseph H. Peterson. So all you got to do is put in Joseph H. Peterson, Key of Solomon, the King, and you will see the one that I have right here. Yep. This has been within the circle many times, within consecration rites very many times. Like, this is always by me when I am doing my work, because it's just great for reference. So that is the one to get, because if you look for the Greater Key, then you're most likely going to get one that's mixed with the Greater Key, the Key of Solomon, the King, and also the Ars Goetia. So it has the keys, the keys of Solomon. And then the other book was the Heptameron, Heptameron. I believe I spelled that right. And that's the magic, the magic of the elements by Peter De Abano, I believe, is the other name of it. I forget, but yeah, that one will teach you ritual formula, and then the initiation into the Golden Dawn system. Whether you're trying to initiate into the system or not, it will give you all the correspondences, associations, all of the practical foundational knowledge that you need to help build that toolbox for stepping into the circle.
I got you, my brother. Brother Madim, it was an honor to have you on this show, brother. You came out here, you, as always, performed well. Very informative, very detailed, and we appreciate you for your knowledge over here at NYP. Where can people find you, man?
You could find me on Instagram, Man of Madim. You could find me on TikTok, Man of Madim as well. And, feel free to reach out. I'm pretty approachable. Just don't be a dick.
Got you. Do you offer services to people that need help? Like, somebody call you like, Man of Madim, I need help. I'm having issues.
Not generally. I have before. I have helped out people before, but it's not really my forte. It really depends if it's something that lands within my realm.
I got you, man. All right. With that being said, we appreciate you, people. Don't forget to go out there, comment, like, share, subscribe. We got super chats. We have merch. Run up the numbers of the show, share it, comment, like, subscribe, man. Go out there, do the research. And we like to have the brother come back again and go more deep into the Solomon Magic piece, because it's very important for people to learn. Because once you have the tools yourself, you don't have to run other places. It also helps you develop a relationship with your higher power within yourself, and you know the do's and don'ts within this realm. All right. With that being said, this is NYP. Peace and love to all. Q, Madim, good looking out, my brother. And we out. Peace.